Okay, the recording is in process. Today, ladies and gentlemen, as you can probably see on your screen, we have Nacho. Chris
What's up?
Arnold is in the house. What's up, Chris?
Man, same old, same old. Kids, baseball, dance, gymnastics, work, repeat.
Rinse and repeat. Hey, this little thing we got to do work also. We always talk about what we're doing with our kids. Golly, you got to work and do all that too. Real quick, Wendy does not look like she is going to make it this morning. She had something come up. Everything's fine. She's not going to be able to make it. We had Nacho coming on anyway, so we're going to rock through this today. Chris, what do we do? Are we going to go with Nacho? See, a lot of people know you as Nacho. I know you as Chris, and I know you as Chris Arnold. But like a large faction of people know you as Nacho. What am I supposed to call you?
You call me whatever comes to mind. I've been called everything that comes it is crazy because a lot of people later in life only know me as Nacho. You say Chris Arnold, they're like, who's that?
Right.
But I'll respond to anything. So whatever you're comfortable with, I'm good with.
All right, let's rock and roll. Listen, I'm gonna bust down a couple of these games. So we're gonna do some preview stuff. And we got some voicemails. We have voicemails, and I told you if you send me a voicemail, send us a voicemail that is clean. We're gonna put this on. I mean, we're gonna put it on. So we've got some older ones that we've got to put on, and we've got some newer ones that we got to put on. We've got a couple new people to the chat, Chris, and we're gonna get to that in just 1 minute. Let's go through the football games. We're here for football. We're in Birmingham, Alabama. It looks like it's gonna rain most of the weekend. Might be a really good weekend to watch football. Chris, not a big slate of games. I'm just going to go down some of these real simple, real quick, and then we're going to get into the meat of what we're doing. LSU Bengal Tigers take on the South Carolina Gamecocks. South Carolina Gamecocks are coming on strong. Does South Carolina have anything for the LSU Bengal Tigers?
Man, that's a tricky one. They could, but at the same time, they shouldn't, right?
Right.
So that's a tricky game. That's kind of a trap game. But I think LSU comes away with a win.
Yeah, LSU should come away with a win. I think the game is at South Carolina. It'll at least be a pretty good helmet game with not a big slate. On Wendy's favorite team, Ole Miss, once again is in week 3 and has not played anybody yet. And they are playing Wake Forest. Wake Forest knows how to score some points, and I think that Dave Clawson's still the head coach at Wake Forest. We know Lane Kiffin's at Ole Miss. Could be a decent game. I mean, Clawson is a coach. I mean, he is a coach. He has his players where they win some football games and they have enough for Ole Miss. I doubt it.
I doubt it. Ole Miss should run away with it. It might be close for a minute, but not long enough.
Not long enough. The Tennessee Volunteers. I'm talking, everybody's talking about Nico. The Flying Nico plays Kent State. Doesn't do much. Tennessee's going to win by 60, and they're getting ready for a big matchup at Oklahoma.
Run them out of the stadium again.
Oklahoma plays Tulane. I think Oklahoma plays Tulane, and Tulane is a good football team. I don't know where Tulane came from, but the past 3 or 4 years, Tulane has been playing some really good football. This could be a big test for Oklahoma. Oklahoma is waiting on Tennessee to come to town next week in a highly anticipated game. Look out for the Tulane Green Wave.
Absolutely.
To give Oklahoma some problems?
Absolutely. If Oklahoma's looking ahead to Tennessee, they're in trouble. If they're focused on this week, they should win. But if they're looking ahead, they're in trouble.
Bingo, bango. You got to look at what's right in front of you. It's hard to do sometimes. We have Missouri. The Missouri Tigers have not given up a touchdown this year. They haven't played a big opponent. Missouri might be the real deal. They're playing Boston College, a Boston College team that has Billy O'Brien. They call him Bill. We used to call him Bill O'Brien, but you watch all these clips, all these former players call him Billy O'Brien. Coach O'Brien has got Boston College playing some good football. We watched them beat Florida State down there at Florida State. I think it was on Labor Day. They're going to Missouri in another pretty good game, Chris. Can Missouri pull out the dub?
This is the Missouri measuring stick game. Are we going to see who they really are? Now, I think it'll be a decent game, but I really do think Missouri, I think they're the real deal this year. Can they beat Georgia? That's way too far ahead, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about Missouri is they've got a good defense. I mean, and it's like Tennessee. It looks like Tennessee has a good defense. So it's
Mhm.
sneaky up. Some of these offensive teams have kind of developed the defense, which I guess is what they've been working on for 2 or 3 years, and it's coming to fruition. So good for
Right.
them. We have, let's go ahead and get to the Georgia, the king of college football.
Kings.
Wendy's not going to agree with it because they hadn't beat Alabama yet, but they've won 41. They haven't lost a regular season game since the year 2020. In 2020, we were in a
Undisputed.
pandemic.
Undisputed heavyweight champions of the world in the regular season. Shout out Barry.
The regular season champs, Georgia Bulldogs, are going to go play Kentucky. And Kentucky ends up getting beat last week by South Carolina, which kind of shocked a lot of people. I mean, I'm a casual fan. It kind of shocked me. Georgia's playing this up like they do, like they're going into battle, a really good team. They beat Kentucky every year by 65 points. Chris, do you see anything different in this game with the Georgia Bulldogs playing Kentucky?
Kentucky will lay an egg to teams they shouldn't. I mean, it happens every year. Typically, it's like Florida, But yeah, no, Georgia by 100.
Georgia by 100. All right, I'm crossing things off the list, so I'm hoping to get all this. I've scratched all this out last night. We're going to go to the Auburn football Tigers. If you're around from where we're from, we're in Birmingham, Alabama. It's Alabama and Auburn football. A lot of Alabama Auburn football. And the big story, Chris, is this quarterback. I think it's funny that the guy throws 4 interceptions. We're talking about Peyton Thorne. The guy throws 4 interceptions, really threw a 5th interception that was a pass interference call that was terrible. And us as fans watching a game come out and start talking about the quarterback, and then all the pundits who know everything are like, well, why are you talking about the quarterback? What do you want a casual fan to talk about? I mean, you want us to talk about the 4-3-6 defense and the tight end not scooping on the linebacker and some dude, doesn't throw a shade 3 block. We don't know that crap. We know the quarterback backed up and threw it to the wrong guy 5 different times. What do you want us to talk about? So, and if you're, I'm not banging on the player. I'm not banging on the player whatsoever. He might be the best they've got, and go for it, man. Play your season and do your thing. But as an Auburn fan, I would just want to see something different. If the other guy goes in there and throws 4 more interceptions, good. Put Peyton Thorne back in there. At least we know what we have. Auburn is going to play New Mexico State, which I think New Mexico State beat them last year, Chris.
I think so, too.
Can Auburn get back on track or not?
Well, first off, credit Cal, because Cal played a really good game. They really did. They were in the game from the beginning. They weren't intimidated. They came in, took over. Auburn should get back on track here. They should. But, New Mexico beat them last year. So we'll see. I mean, this team, if you don't turn the ball over 5 times, you got a chance to win the game. Auburn has much better athletes. They should go in there and do it. Will they do it?
Yeah, and I want for Auburn to get back on track. I'm still not, Hugh Freeze, I don't know, man. This guy, he kind of talks indirectly. It just, to me, my personal opinion, he always tries to kind of shift some of the blame, our offensive staff, and he calls out 3 or 4 people by name about how they called a good game, and people were running wide open. And I'm not convinced that this guy's taking true ownership of the team, and I don't know that I really like that. Something he said this week was that he's trying to build this team from the ground up. Shout out to Bronson. But from the ground up, meaning he's wanting some high school players and kind of build this thing more organically. Will this work, Chris? This is the first time I've heard of it, but will this work when you have 4 really good receivers and you're bringing in some high-level athletes, but he can't find anybody to get him the ball? Will this building from the ground work, Chris?
Kind of to your credit about the teams earlier about waiting 2 or 3 years and getting their system in. I think that's really what Hugh Freeze is doing. I did hear an interview where they want to put everything in place around except the quarterback right now, which sounds crazy. And then so his system's ready to go. The players are experienced, and he can go get a JUCO kid or a transfer portal next year and just take over college football. Now, that all depends on the quarterback you get, right? Does he fit the system? Blah, 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 all that fun stuff. But I think they're in place for next year to be a contender. Maybe not to win it all, but a playoff team if they get the right quarterback.
It's all about next year. It's all about next year. All right. It's all about next year. All right, let's get to the game that probably is the biggest game in college football. It is the Alabama Crimson Tide. Roll Tide, roll. Let's
Roll
get
Tide, let's
it
go.
on. Playing the Wisconsin Badgers. Alabama, a team from the South, is going to load up the big planes, fly up to a place called Camp Randall, who has a storied history of being a really good place for college football. Looked up some facts last night. Wisconsin is not just your everyday normal Big Ten team. They have won a lot of football games over the years, ladies and gentlemen. They have had over 700 victories in their football program. I think they're one of 26 teams that have over 700 wins. Like I said, they're going to Camp Randall. The last time I think Alabama played, I'm not a stats guy, but the last time I think they played was 2015 to start the season out there in Dallas. Alabama really took control of that game, never in doubt. Alabama's coming off a weird performance, Chris. We got to get your thoughts. A weird performance where they have 756 penalties. Everybody's saying the defense has people flying all over the place and nobody's covered. Alabama comes out for the win. Alabama takes the show on the road for the first time in Kalen DeBoer's career. Chris Arnold, what happens tomorrow? Hey, at 11 a.m., we have a biscuit game, ladies and gentlemen.
Biscuit
Get up.
game. Yeah,
Get
look,
your biscuits ready. What's going to happen, Chris?
how do we get rid of these 11 o'clock games? I mean, can they at least start at noon in your own time zone at least? 11 o'clock's too early.
I think this is going more and more to these 11 o'clock. 2:30 used to be the golden spot for the SEC. Now I think games are going to be going from 11 to prime time, and you're going to get a mediocre game in the middle. But the game goes off at 11 o'clock. What do you look for the Crimson Tide tomorrow?
Okay, I think I think Proctor's playing. I think he's going to go. So that in itself is a massive win, because if he's in that game last week, it's never once close. All those penalties that get called back, it just, I mean, that Thorsby kid or whatever his name is, he had 7 or 8 penalties himself.
Yeah.
He couldn't do it. So, you know, I think the number one goal is fix the penalties, right? Wisconsin is traditionally been a run team. This is the first year where they're a passing team. I think we score a defensive touchdown in this game. I think this is Kendrick Law's breakout kind of game. I think we actually, here's a bold prediction for you. I think we have more than one running back with over 100 yards tomorrow.
Wow. So you think Caleb might keep it on the ground for enough for our two backs to have over 100 yards?
I think so. I think it's going to kind of get out of hand, and then we're just going to start running the ball. And you see, I mean, these guys are too explosive to contain. They really are. And when you're trying to burn up clock and they break away, well, there goes 60, 70 yards right there.
Well, and I think you bring up a good point. If you've watched any of Wisconsin football, and I'm not an expert on Wisconsin football, but it's the ground and pound, limit the possessions by each team, limit their mistakes, score some touchdowns, and put pressure on people and win a bunch of close games. It feels like this new coach they've got out at Wisconsin, I should know his name. He came from Cincinnati. They tried to open it up, I think, a little bit last year. They're trying to open up their offense into more of a modern-day offense, as you said, Chris. But, what do they go back to? I mean, when I think of Wisconsin, I think about a bunch of big dudes plowing down the field. Yeah, when I think about Alabama, we got big dudes, but we got athletes all over the field. I mean, it's kind of like watching an Alabama basketball team back in the day. It's like watching basketball. It's like we have 5 really great athletes, but they don't really know how to play basketball. Now it's a little bit different. But Alabama's going to carry just stud athletes, just thoroughbred athletes up there, and who can out-scheme each other and who can get their team ready to play. The total in the game, let's talk about a little bit of betting, even though I don't really bet. 49 total points. Will their total be over 49 points, Chris, yes or no?
The total of the game will be over 49, yes. Bama will have 49, if not more. I mean, look, I'm not being a homer here. I think you fixed the penalty. You saw how good our team was last week and the first week, or can be, I guess is the best way to say it. But you fixed the penalties, and that score last week is completely out of hand. Now, I think South Florida is a better team than Wisconsin this year. So, I don't see how I don't see how this doesn't play out in Bama's favor if they can fix the penalties.
Yeah, and I mean, I
easy.
agree with you, but you got to pay attention. This coach for Wisconsin's a really good coach. He coached for
He's a great
Cincinnati,
coach.
who actually played Alabama in a playoff. And now this is what changes in college football. Now there's tape. Now these coaches can look at tape and tendencies. And Wisconsin and this coach is going to dial something up for our defensive backs. If everybody's talking about our defensive backs running, receivers running wide open, then this, I think, is fickle. The Wisconsin coach is going to exploit that a couple of times.
Sure.
So now coaching comes into play, and we'll see what happens. Chris thinks it blows over 49. The spread in the game is 16.5 points, Chris. I mean, can Bama cover the 16.5 or not?
Yes, Bama does cover. And I don't bet on Bama. I never bet on Bama, because if I bet, they're gonna do the exact opposite, no matter what. And I don't gamble really anymore at all either. But I never bet on Bama. Bama will cover in this game.
Put it on the board. All right, Chris. All right, let's get to this. All right, we're gonna get to some of our viewers and the people that watch the show, which is basically our family and our friends.
Go.
We've had a couple of things. I want to get to this before we get to some of these messages we're going to try to play. We have a John. I'm not going to mention his last name if he doesn't want his name mentioned, but his name is John. He has entered the chat, as they say. He's got a lot of really good ideas. And Chris, one of the good ideas, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, is he thinks we need to change the name of our show.
Yep.
Right now, I think the name of our show is Trey and Wendy. What's my sister on one about? Okay. Yeah. I think that's the name of it. Like, I think if you go into Apple Podcasts and you search for Trey and Wendy, we should come up. And in YouTube, I think if you search for Trey and Wendy, we should come up relatively soon. John is thinking we need a more catchier, snappier name. So if you're listening to this and you want to send in your request for a catchier, snappier name, let us know. That's something that's been going on in the chat this week.
I say either tackle this or Fourth and Windy.
Fourth and Wendy.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Fourth and Wendy or tackle this. I'm writing it down because I won't remember. Put it
on the list. Everybody call in though and give your names. I mean, that's just two. I bet there's a bunch of them out there.
So I sent in, those are good, Chris. So I sent out the number. We're going to try to play some of these right now. I don't know what we're doing on time-wise. You know I like to keep this thing under 20 minutes. Let's see if we can do this, Chris. I hope it works. And let's start. I'm going to share my screen here.
If not, it's not my fault. So
that's right. Oh, wait. This was the main button I have to click, is the share the sound button, is what the main deal is.
Screen to do it?
Yeah.
Love it.
We're gonna play these. This is back from a couple of weeks ago because we didn't play these. But I said if you leave a message, it's gonna be played. Let's take a listen. Hopefully the volume works, people.
Hey Trey, it's Catfish from River Chase. See what's going on with you.
All right, we have Catfish from River Chase. That was a 4-second message. It sounded similar to a guy that works with me at my office. Catfish from River Chase. He didn't give us much context there, but let's see here.
Hey, this is Karen from Knoxville. I'll tell you, we've got some juice in T-Town. Yeah, it was Western Kentucky, and we've got some things to work on, but overall, woohoo! Milroe was outstanding. Ryan Williams is the real deal. And Keon Sabb makes me not miss.
Hey, Trey and Wendy, this is Daniel.
All right, hold on.
Trey and Wendy. This is John, L County, 6'1", 220, about a fifth of wild turkey per weekend. I was just curious to get your thoughts about why Wisconsin likes really fat defensive linemen.
So this gentleman, he wants to know why they like fat defensive linemen. We'll have to see if Wisconsin has a bunch of fat defensive linemen.
That's J.A. right there. That's Josh John.
I like it. Yeah. All right, we'll go to another one. This is Gina from a couple of weeks ago. We have a couple more. I just wanted to get them all on
here. Yeah.
Hello, Wendy and Trey's podcast. Okay, this is your sister, Big G. down here in Hoover, Alabama, and I got a hot take for you tomorrow. So I got them Clemson Tigers over the #1 Georgia Bulldogs. I know what everybody's going to say, but I mean, one's got to dream. So let's dream big.
Hey, Trey and Wendy, this is Daniel. Really enjoy your podcast.
That did not age well, Gina. That
Wendy
did
and
not
Trey's
age well.
podcast. Okay.
No, it didn't. I'm sorry. I don't know how to work this thing. That did not end well. That was my sister Gina. She had it. She called right before the Georgia Clemson game, and she was trying to make a bold prediction. It did not work.
Hey, before you press play, Gina, your house is on the other side of this house, and you've lived here for at least 2 years now, and I still haven't seen you. Please fix that.
You're going to have to work on that neighborhood. Y'all going to have to go door to door. All right, listen, we've got one more. So first off, we've got Karen from Knoxville, who sounded very familiar to some people.
I was going to say.
We had Catfish from my office. I know who that is. Shaq. Who was that?
That was John.
All right, we got John coming in, and then we have Gina coming in. She thought Clemson was going to beat Georgia. Let's get to this is a longer one, and I hope I can play this right. I'm sorry about the audio, but this is a gentleman named Daniel. He has entered the chat. It's a long deal, and he wanted this to get to Wendy. Unfortunately, Wendy's not on the show, but we're going to play it.
Hey, Trey and Wendy, this is Daniel. Really enjoy your podcast. Thanks for doing it. Wendy, I think you got a couple of things wrong about that damn game. Number one, the offensive line, having the left tackle out, having his replacement out, that is a huge deal. We're playing a guy who had never played at that level before. Redshirt sophomore. We got another guy who's a redshirt freshman. So we got two guys out there who have never played before at this level, and they're. I think both those guys, Vander, whatever, and the kid who got all of the flags, I think both those guys are going to be good players. I just think this is a huge part of their growing process. Unfortunately, it had to be against a smaller, faster, scrappier defensive line. We're not going to find that at Wisconsin. I'm not saying Wisconsin's defensive line is not as good as South Florida's, but I am saying that we don't play a lot of defensive lines that look like Wisconsin. I mean,
undoubtedly,
like
Wisconsin has
now, when we get to the Georgias and the Missouris of the world, if those two guys that I just mentioned are playing, we're going to get our butts kicked. Number two, Wendy, I agree with you on this point. Our secondary is young. They were somewhat ineffective, and there was probably 2 touchdowns, maybe more, that South Florida left on the field because they couldn't connect, but the guy was running wide open. Number three, we're going to have a real problem with Tennessee. We're going to have a real problem with Georgia. And you know why? Because both of those teams have excellent quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Both of those teams' quarterbacks know how to run. They can press the run and then pull back and throw. So I was watching the Tennessee game, and Nico, when he starts to scramble, he's got his eyes downfield. Our D-backs are going to suck right up to him scrambling, and there are going to be 3 guys running towards the end zone wearing orange every single time, and he's just going to flick it to them. So, having said all that, we got to get better. I'm sure that we will get better, and I'm sure that Kane Womack's going to work with them to get them better. My question is Kane Womack the guy who needs to be in this position? But I think that's probably at least a 2-season type of a question. I think the kid Kane Womack has some real good experience and some great ideas. But like a lot of people, I'd like to see a little bit more blitzing or a little bit more spying last week. All right, I just wanted to drop you all a line. Appreciate your show. Thanks for everything you do. Roll Tide.
That is our boy Daniel, who has entered the chat.
Yeah, that was good.
He said a lot. He's not worried about the offensive line. He is definitely scared of Tennessee and Georgia, and he's starting to wonder about the defensive coordinator. Chris, what do you say, brother?
I think it's let me be Wendy. I think you're exactly right. No. Just kidding. I love you, Wendy. I think it's a little early to be scared. Look, new coaches, new systems, just brought in, couple cupcake games. Give them 3 or 4 more games. Let's see if they adjust, if they can make these adjustments. And I think it's a little early to be worried. Kane Womack's a good coach. Time will tell, obviously. But yeah, I think it's a little early to be scared. I think he's going to step up. Now, look, also a lot of these guys are young talent, and there's a long way to go to develop them. The only way to really get that development is in games, right? So they've had 2 games. That's it. Give them a little bit of time. But I do agree that Tennessee is a scary matchup. Georgia is a scary matchup. Hell, anybody that has a mobile quarterback that can get the ball downfield is a scary matchup right now.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and hopefully this defense is going to develop and really, and I'm just telling you, this is a defense, from what I'm hearing, is going to give up some plays. I mean, they're going to give up some plays. It's not like they don't want you to get a yard. I think Saban was like, I don't want him to get an inch. I think this defense is like, we might give up a play or two here or there, but we're going to create some negative plays. We're going to create some turnovers. I think that's why you hear the defensive coordinator talk so much about the turnovers.
That's right.
Because this defense is really reliant on some turnovers because they're going to give up some stuff. So, Chris, all in all, man, I've enjoyed having you on here. Do you got anything else to add? Because we are about to get off here. Wendy, we miss you. We'll get you back up. We're going to try to do the review show probably on Sunday again. Mike, I want to get Mike back on the show. Chris, we got to get you back on the show. Chris, what do you have to say as we head on out of here?
Nothing, man. Roll Tide, fix the penalties. This team is a track meet team this year. It really is. We're built to offensively score 1 million points right now. I think next year the defense will be a little bit stronger and tougher. But yeah, this is a track. If we're in track meet games, we got a better shot against the Georgias and the Tennessees. But if we
what
can't,
you got going on tomorrow? What are you doing tomorrow?
Tomorrow we're going to Atlanta to go to the Dodgers-Braves game. Sunday morning, I'm flying out of Atlanta to go to Vegas. I had an uncle pass. We're going to Celebration of Life. And then Monday, I fly to San Francisco for the week for a conference, home Thursday. So a lot going on. A lot.
Well, are the Braves going to play with all this rain coming in, or nobody cares?
Yeah. The rain's sticking basically to Alabama, Mississippi, this side. So it's going to be west of Georgia.
Well, safe travels, man. Everybody out there listening, hope y'all have a good weekend. Love the one you're with, and we will see y'all later. Roll Tide. Hi, buddy.